I think after a book like what we covered last week, anything could be an improvement. And I do mean anything could be an improvement. Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lore Ramblings, and the name's Adam.
And I'm Imsit, and we're finishing up our discussion on Degenesis by going over its crunch.
Finally, some good fucking crunch. That's the good news. The bad news is, because these people are fucking idiots, this book is actually what we call a bit of a nightmare to actually show off. I'll explain when we get into it. And speaking of which, let's show off book 2, because this is an RPG so good that it needed 2 books to actually get to the bloody point. Say hello to book 2, Katharsys, and it opens up with some decent line work. I would say mostly unfinished, at least in terms of final product, but it's very good black and white drawing of the Spitalers, just kind of going over an old room that they reconstructed. I kind of
Indeed.
like the aesthetic here. If the book started here, I probably would have dug it, but it didn't. We went through 300 pages to get there. And here's more white space that they're burning up. And they're just doing red on black, which just hurts the eyes. Look at all this waste of white space, man. Look at all these wasted pages. By the way, if you're wondering why I have the bookmarks opened, yeah. If they ever made meat copies of this book, guess what you'd have to do? You'd have to shrink wrap them at the local game store. You want to know why?
Titties.
What was that?
Titties.
Exactly. There's so much. There's even penises in here. It's kind of amazing how they basically tried as hard as humanly possible to make this book unsellable, I think.
Well, I mean, they did sell it. Not in a storefront, though.
I don't think they sold it as well as they thought, though, and it's actually a testament to their willingness to burn money that it's still going. So, chapter 5. If you bought this book by itself somehow, oh god, imagine going to like a local game store and this is shrink wrapped, it's used. You had to go to the 18 plus section, and then you open it up and you see chapter 5. Can you understand why I think the 2 book solution was fucking stupid?
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's all digital, so it doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. If you're gonna have a core rulebook, it's probably ideal to have it be the one rulebook. I hate Shadowrun 5th edition to the point where I actually kind of want to show off Shadowrun 5th edition at one point, because it is one of the worst designed books I've ever fucking read. It genuinely is.
That seems to be our theme for this year so far.
Horribly designed books.
Yeah.
Oh god, you're going to enjoy it. It is a pain in the ass to get any details. It's to the point where Shadowrun 5th edition cheat sheets, the reference guides that you can use as a DM, are fucking atrocious. Are all about the right number of pages for physical front covers. Yeah, it's digital. There's also the matter that these wasted bits of paper, you could have had something on there. You could have. You could have chosen to do that, but they didn't. And on top of that, it doesn't matter because they don't use their white space well, and we'll show more of that later. Only D&D gets away with dividing its core rulebook. You do not need the monster manual, nor do you need the DM's guide. That's one of the things I like about older D&D is you literally just need the player's handbook. And anyone who tries to sell you otherwise is an idiot who's not creative. You only need those if you're very new to DMing, and even then, there's this thing called the SRD that you can reference, which I think is superior. So let's actually take a look. Let's zoom in. Don't mind the bookmarks, just I'll denote when we have to skip around. It's going to be more than you think.
But first thing off is character creation.
Hmm.
And their system, known as Katharsys, spelled Kathar, capital Sys,
They don't own the
is
rights to this shit, by the way, if you're wondering, because we'll go through it, and I'll explain why this is not something you can copyright.
because I believe it is a D6 dice pool. You have attributes and skills. Skills are related to your attributes. Attributes ranging from 1 to 6, skills from 0 to 6. You total up those numbers, roll a bunch of 6-sided die. 4, 5, 6 are successes, and sixes are criticals.
Cool. Did you know that there's a game called Poker Roll that came out probably before them that did that? And then there's Shadowrun, which admittedly is a little different because you need 5s and 6s to succeed, but the same concept. And then there's other D6 dice pools like in West End Games, which I think this is what it's based on. I think they just dug up the corpse of West End Games. So
Well, to be
I'm
fair, no one
complaining
was.
about it because they're trying to patent something that's been around for decades. The D6 dice pool system is one of the most common iterations that used to be really big during the 90s because West End Games used it. It's also very common in Japanese RPGs because they don't have the fancy other dice that we do. They prefer D6s because it's just easier and cheaper to get.
Before we go on, Eternal American does have a question of how could you not get away with using the monster manual?
You just make up stats on the fly. That's what I did whenever I ran my first ever D&D campaign. There's also this thing called the SRD that you can consult. It's been out for decades at this point, since 2000. And what you can do is you can just reference monsters there. D&D might eventually privatize that, but you can just literally take the Pathfinder ones, which are still open from Paizo, and just use that. You don't need books. You don't need any book, but in my opinion, you don't really need any book but the player's handbook. As a DM, you really only need monster stats if you're going to try to keep it completely street legal. But yeah, the attributes are divided between body, agility, charisma. Wait, I think this is just a repurposed Shadowrun because
Is it?
it might be. The only thing it's missing a few stats. I think they simplified it, but when I think
Yeah.
of body, I think of the Shadowrun toughness score, which determines your soak. Agility, charisma, yep, intellect, which is just the fusion of, I believe, logic and intuition. Psych and instinct. That might be why they can get away with calling it what it is. That might be why, because they decided to take the 6 attribute system from D&D and then just
Mm.
refluffed it. But this is not a novel system. This is not something that I would consider I mean, I guess you have to copyright it in the event that way you can get revenue from people who use something like this again. But this is not a new system. This is why I like it. It's a very simple method. And again, there's 6 skills. Attribute and skill depend and support one another.
So your body skills are athletics, brawl, unarmed combat, force, melee. Well, actually, force is it's one type of melee, and then there's another type of melee.
That's stupid.
It looks like, well, force, as they give an example of actions, bending up sewer grates, breaking chains, kicking in doors.
Okay, this is genuinely stupid, and what I think this is more signs that they borrowed from Shadowrun because they have unarmed combat, melee weaponry, and then they had force. In this case, seems to be more along the lines of something like exotic weapon skills. I think
Yeah,
I don't like that. Wow, even in the parts that I like, they find ways to piss me off. Wow.
but then you have melee, stamina, and basic toughness.
So okay, I can understand that.
I do like though they give you combinations that you can include because they do say the different ways you use the skills are either as an action, a reaction, um, combining two skills, and various specialties.
I mean, it's good that they're providing suggestions to newbie DMs. That's something not everyone does. That
And I
is
do like that
something
a
that not everyone does. I do feel like they could have probably done a bit more, especially for Brawl, because they only give one example.
yeah. Um, Next
In
up's
many melee
agility.
attacks, the body plus force score is used to augment the damage of a weapon. I get it, but I don't like it. I don't like the
Ah, I
concept of
see.
force being like that.
I guess it's melee is to hit, and this is sort of a damage modifier.
Yeah, I kind of, since I've been playing a lot of Shadowrun, I just kind of prefer what they did, which was just you take your strength score and then you add a number to it, and that determines your damage output. Like, for example, if you use what's called knucks, which are brass knuckles, strength plus 1.
Well, next up though are the agility skills. So you have crafting, enhancing, repairing gear, basic dexterity, which also includes your thief skills, navigation, riding animals, piloting machines, that sort of stuff. More wasted space by a quote from Sart.
From Sartre. Ah, yes, the Giga Brain guy who tried to deny the genocide of the Cambodians. Good
Oh, he did that
choice.
as well. I thought you were
Yes.
going to point out his desire to lower the age of consent in France.
You know, the more I think about it, the more that explains why this book has so much boob.
Well, thank goodness it's above age.
Uh,
Next up, though, is mobility. So your acrobatics and dodging. Although that honestly sounds a lot more like it should be dexterity.
it should be. I don't like that.
Projectiles, so, shooting weapons, and then stealth,
Okay, so I'm
which
already
again should be dexterity stuff.
I was complimenting the system, but now that I'm looking at the skills, you know what I'm thinking?
Ugh.
They're doing what Chronicles of Darkness tried to do, where they tried to make everything based on 5, and sometimes you need more skills than this.
Yeah, they want to, I think, just go with the 6.
They wanted to be they care more about artsy than they care about crunch, and God, that's amazing. I was actually expecting to shit on other things in this section. I didn't expect to just get stonewalled here because I just looked at the skills, like skimmed it, and wow, wow. As for charisma, arts obviously, which I find
Conduct,
interesting because
yeah.
when I think of doing art, when I think of making art, I think of fine motion. Like if you're an artist, you need to be able to accurately chart your brushstrokes. All the charisma in the world can't help you there. Unless it's to sell art, like to scam people into it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it
I I
does say
I don't like how
appraisals.
this is parceled.
But next up, though, is conduct. Choosing appropriate words, knowing the right rituals. Then
Etiquette.
expression. Yeah, expression, which is looks like sort of public speaking, human. It says like reading facial expressions, knowing body language,
I'm gonna be
leadership.
blunt. I much prefer Poke Roll, which has even less skills, but the way those skills work is they're such a big umbrella that you can kind of just generate what you want. I don't like this. It's in an awkward spot between trying to have specific items for certain things and then just kind of trying to generic it.
Yeah. Well, then you then have leadership. Obviously, leadership based charisma, negotiation, the art of the deal, and seduction, flirting, seducing, that sort of stuff.
So here's my other question. I've noticed that none of the charisma skills have anything to do with intimidation. My assumption is negotiation and you fluff it. It's just kind of interesting because negotiations usually are paired with intimidation.
I think they put that in psych actually, but next up is intellect. And our skills here are artifact lore, understanding the value, also repairing of ancient technology, engineering, which is much more high tech repair and identification of technology, allowing you to construct new things, repair old things, focus, Those who focus their mind beyond the meditative point transcend the flesh. Like thinking clearly, every shot is a hit, every action is executed with cold-blooded calm. This is mental performance, meditation, overcoming doubts. What I do note here
I
is
kind of
interesting
low-key hate how they describe each of these skills because they're trying to be artsy here too. I
is that
I kind of low-key
y-
hate that.
is that you have to choose between focus or primal. Primal being an instinct skill.
Where the hell is instinct? Is it down in psych?
It's after psych.
Oh. Oh, I know why they did that. That's so the Africans can just all be primal monkey creatures, remember? Remember how they did that to the Scourgers? That's why that's there.
Well, that's the clanners as well.
Yeah, Ooga Booga. It's for the Ooga Boogas, be they white or black. There you go.
The other thing is that both are for your ego points. So they want you to not double up on those.
My assumption is ego is probably like essence.
I believe it's more like a sanity
Yeah, essence.
or a
It's essentially
willpower.
essence or yeah.
Yeah. But next up in our intellect is legends, so understanding the past and history of the cults and the cultures, medicine, understanding how to cure people, and science, understanding scientific knowledge and mixing explosives.
Again, I'm not the biggest fan of how they've broken up these. I I understand they're trying to focus just on having 6 for 6 because they're looking at it from, I want it to visually represent. It's 6 times 6. It's 6 abilities. It's six. I get it. I get it.
6 cultures, right? Aren't there 6 cultures?
I think there might be. I don't remember. I've
It's
already forgotten
memetics,
like half of it. Let's see. There's Borca. There's the evil bug people of France. Murder, death, Spain. Africa, because fuck you, Africa is one culture according to this book.
the Balkans,
The
Poland,
Balkans and
and
Poland.
Italy.
No, they
So
fucked
no,
up.
seven.
It's 7.
Se-
No, you fucked up.
Gantrell's wrong.
Your
Not his
gematria
precious
is
memetics.
wrong.
But next is our psych. So we have cunning, which is planning, improvisation, distraction,
But by the way,
deception.
just so you get an idea on how they explain how the skills work, I'm gonna read cunning because I fucking
Yeah.
hate it. Truth is the lover of the cunning one. She bends under his caress, and when she breaks, her ugly sister, the lie, steps in. Both lead him to his goal without his victims being any wiser. The raven uses subterfuge to get through the judge's interrogation. I when they get to actual things that can happen in the setting, it gets better. But that first half is so artsy fartsy that at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they got their money from doing investment scams with rich people, like all artists do. You know, when you buy a modern art piece, it's not because you're liking the work, it's because you like the description plaque attached to it. And you're just trying to hope you can sell it to a rich idiot.
Or as a tax write-off.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to hide your liquidity. God.
But next up, though, is deception. So this is the art of lying. And then domination, which is here's your intimidation.
Oh, okay.
Uh, faith, which you cannot use the willpower skill if you have faith, because it is tied to a religion. Also, though, it's also atheists can use this as well. No,
I,
no, wait, no, sorry. The atheist relies on his free will, but faith can move mountains. So it is tied to a religion.
that's pretty brain dead. That's a pretty brain dead take.
Well, then, reaction, taking initiative, knowing dangers, and willpower. Neither a god nor fate determines the path, only the human will. It shapes, creates great things, tears down walls of deception, protects from the whispers of the demagogues. Those people withstand torture and conquer their fears. As long as the will is strong, there is a way.
I kind of don't like how you have to pick one or the other. I think that's a failing because you kind of need a willpower at times when your faith is tested.
I believe this is also to deal with the spore infestation mechanics. Same thing with like the focus and ins or in the primal. They're not wanting you to double up.
That's on them that's on them, I think. Like I get it, but at the end of the day, it also further ruins the six stats asset because guess what you've done? You've made it so that you can only take five in at least two or three of them. Yeah, can I not have faith in my own ability? No, no. You either God
No, you
did
have to
it,
believe
either
in something
Yeevis
with
did it,
faith.
or oh no gods, only man. It's a testament to how even their crunch is fucking up. I was actually trying to give this book something, and they still fuck it up. Again, at least in this case, it's just presentation because the basic system is simple. Like it's a D6 dice system. You can't really fuck that up. So I can't, that's fine.
Well, then next up are the rules for your instinct skills. So you have empathy, which is communicating through body language to understand basic emotions and attune to those emotions. And orienteering, which is
I know, no, I know why they did that. That way, the people with no charisma can pretend that they still care for others. Yeah, that's why they did that.
yeah. Um, but then orienteering, which is understanding and navigating a landscape.
Which is
Perception.
dumb because that's what survival usually covers too.
Survival in this case is more about the hunting and gathering, setting
Not
traps.
so this should be called navigation. That would have been a better fucking name for this.
Yeah. But the other skills are perception, finding and hidden objects, noticing unusual things. Primal.
To complement the book, that's actually where perception and instinct, good choice. That's one
Yeah.
of the better places to put it.
Primal. Those who dedicate themselves to the primal skill feel the beast snarl inside them and throw itself against the bars of reason. Primal ferocity breaks free from its prison. Once Primal is set free, the good and bad aspects of self rage into a firestorm, burning away any thought of caution and planning. Instead, passion, the willingness to make sacrifices, violence, and rage take over. The beast is set free to race across the plains. The mind does not control the hand anymore. That is the heart's job now. And that, my friends, is an example of capitalism.
I totally if you tried to sell this, I just realized now. They were trying to get into the Sci-Fi Writers Guild of America.
Oh no.
Sci-Fi Writers and Fantasy Association or whatever it's called.
But they're
Because this
German.
this feels like something I'd see from one of their entries. They're really shooting for that nebula. Shame they're not in the right publishing company. Can we see the character sheet? Maybe. I don't know if it'll be further down here or if it'll be surrounded by boobs or not.
And then the final one is taming, which is taming animals.
By the way, again, Primal is for clanners and the Scourgers because, you got to make the Africans reduced to literal chimp, hive mind chimp people.
Well, no, anyone can feel the beast inside them, the rage within. It is innate within humanity, smoldered and smothering. It is the ancient drumbeat of a tribal ancestors,
I hate how fucking pretentious this book
and
is.
somehow also a metaphor for industrialism.
I really strongly like it's amazing. I'm This is the part where it's supposed to be at its strongest and they can't even do this right.
So when we so uh, for completing actions, you need to take your attribute and your skill to get your action number.
Shadowrunners, this would be your net hit this would be your net hits that
Yeah.
you'd need.
The higher the action number, the easier it is for characters to succeed. And again, you roll 6-sided die. A 4, 5, or 6 is a success. If the action number is higher than 12, then all dice above 12 count automatically as successes, and the player will roll with 12 dice.
Also, if you're wondering, the difficulty is set based here. This is very common for D6 dice pulls.
So 1 is a routine, then it jumps to 2, difficult jumps straight up to a 4, and
If
then a
you've ever
6.
played Shadowrun or Poke Roll, this is in there. This is the same thing you'd see in any other D6 dice pull system.
And then you have modifying dice.
This is very hard to fuck up, and I can say very proudly they did not fuck up here.
Then if you roll a 6, though, it counts as a trigger,
I
which
find it
are
interesting they don't have the equivalent, the negative equivalent of a glitch.
they do have a botch, and they call it a botch.
Fair enough. I call it glitches because that's what they're called in Shadowrun.
Yeah.
By the way,
So a
if you're
botch,
wondering how glitches work in Shadowrun, just because again, I'm thinking of another system that uses it. Ones are not a botch by themselves. One is not a glitch by itself. You have to get more ones than your entire pool. You have to basically at least half your pool has to be ones,
in this case, it is the number of ones rolled is higher than the number of successes rolled.
which I think is reasonable.
So,
Although
but back on the
actually no, I don't think so necessarily because you can just get 1-1, but if you have no successes, that's a botch. Not a fan of that now that I think about it. I think you'd need at least more than 1-1.
then again, I think you're normally going to be rolling more than, a 1 dice.
No, but let's say you're rolling like 5d6 or whatever, which I think is a relatively average skill pull. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and it's considered a botch.
Yeah, I could see
That's
that
kind
being
of
an issue.
bullshit. Or alternatively, let's say you have a 8d6. And I mean, the odds of not getting a 4, 5, and 6 are ridiculous on an 8d6, but it can happen. In that case, let's go with 1, 1. You said more ones than successes?
Yeah, more ones than successes.
Oh, then it takes away successes like in Vampire the Masquerade and the Old World of Darkness, which is also a failure.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't take away. It doesn't take because if you roll, you only succeed on a 4, 5, or a 6. Adding a 1 does not take away a success.
So let's say I get like 3 ones, but like only 1 4. Does that count as a botch?
So I repeat that again.
Let's say I get 1 success, a 4, and then I get 3 ones. Is that a botch?
No,
Okay.
if you do not have enough successes to beat the difficulty, the character fails. And then if you had more ones than the number of successes rolled, then that's a botch.
What now?
So if you needed 2 successes and you rolled 4 dice, you got a 4 and 2 ones and a 3. That's a botch. If you rolled, uh,
Oh god, they actually
yeah,
fucked up the math. No, that I get it, but like wow, really? Ew. Brother,
I, I
ew.
I don't see it as fucking up. It's basically if you can only botch if you fail.
No, I get it, but like oh god. No, like let's say for example, you have to do a difficult challenge. You need 4 successes. You get a 5, 5, 6, and then because you got like I mean admittedly in that case you'd need 4 ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
then you would need 4. Yeah, you would need 4.
But like let's say
But
on a challenging one, you need 2 successes, you roll like 5d6, you only get 1 success but 2 ones? No, that's
then
horseshit.
yes, that would be a botch.
Don't like that. I much prefer the Shadowrun method where where you can succeed but still glitch.
But then there's a
Ugh.
trigger. So if you get a 6, it counts as a trigger, which makes you just have the result of your success is just better. So you get bonuses. You get
Oh, that's
uh,
hilarious because because of this, mathematically, you could get, let's say the difficulty you needed was a difficult, like I said. You could get 3 6s, but because you got 4 1s, even if you got 3 triggers, it doesn't fucking matter. Ugh,
Yeah,
brother, ugh.
I can see that as an issue. And then, but then when it comes to conflict, you you and your opponent roll. Whoever has the more successes wins. Triggers are used in the case of a draw.
By the way, in the conversation, if you're wondering, Chronicles of Darkness did a very good patch job of the D10 storyteller system by raising the difficulty, because the reason World of Darkness had this issue was you needed a 6 or better on a D10 to get a success on an average test. You could raise the number, but you could also keep it at 6. You can also lower it. But because 1's 8 successes, it actually punished you if you had a larger dice pool. Because if you even got like 2 1s, that removed 2 successes. So what they did was they raised the difficulty cap to 8 and got rid of the 1s take success. They only count as dramatic failures if you get none. Just to clarify, but yeah, this is a little fucky. This is a little fucky. In fairness, most D6 systems have at least a little bit of fuckiness, but this just kind of annoys me that you can get a net success but still botch. Yeah, but you didn't succeed the roll. You still got a success.
Hmm.
I don't know, man.
And then you give us, though, combinations that you could use, complex actions, working together with teammates, and then finally we get to character creation.
By the way, if you're wondering how complex that, it's very standard. You basically, let's say you need like 10 successes. What you can do is you can do what's called an extended action, where you just get the same number of net hits, or in this case is successes. You could do it that way, or you can contribute. That's basically what they mean. Just there you go. Got to shave your head because you joining this battalion. We got to cleanse you
Make
of
you
the lice.
pure. Well,
We're not gonna take your hair and smell it later. Don't
to be
worry
fair,
about that.
to be fair, it is the post-apocalypse. They most likely are full of lice.
No, I'm aware. I'm just making fun. I'm just making fun of the
So
Spitallers a little bit.
they get later to explain the skills of int plus focus, instinct plus primal, and psych plus willpower and psych plus faith. So this is your your focus primal generate your ego points. Ego points max is either your int focus or instinct primal times 2.
So where
The
are
ego
you?
represents page 29.
Sorry, I was just because they have an entire section where they describe protagonists and how they might know each other and who plays who.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you kind of have to have a reason for why a scourger is in Poland.
Well, no, who plays who? PCs don't have to complement each other. A group of battalions with similar skills have its benefits. Every cult covers several categories. A typical group setup would consist of the following. They just kind of assume that this is going to be the group that you're going to have, which I kind of don't
I
like.
mean, yeah, they give options of at least.
No, they don't. They basically say, this is what we expect you to play.
Well, typically, I mean, I would agree. You will have at least in a game one support. You'll have a dedicated healer. You'll have a damage dealer too. I mean, that is kind of what ends up
You
happening.
do, but it's the same reason why challenge rating in earlier D&D games were complete trash fires. Do you want to know why challenge ratings are so fucky? It's because it was always expected and tested with 4 basic character templates: Sword and Board Fighter, Item Finding Rogue, Healbot Cleric, and Fireball Wizard.
Oh,
That's why I'm not a fan of that type of output and setup. But yeah, let's take a look at the. Oh, there's the cultures. All the 7 cultures that we kind of covered already.
yeah. But beforehand, so your ego represents fortitude. Can also trigger hidden reserves in, especially in combat. social or mental attacks wear your ego out. If it reaches 0, you are fatigued and demoralized.
Oh, that'd be in special skills. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Faith and willpower. Uh, choose one of them. The other will be. They're used for mental attacks or to defend against them.
So yeah, the first is physical, second's mental.
Yeah. So you start off obviously with your name, sex, age, height, and weight. Then you have your attribute skills. You get 10 attribute points to allocate to the 6 attributes and 28 skill points. Each attribute already starts with 1 free point. So I guess, yeah, you will always have at least 1 point in your, whenever you're rolling a die. You can also not spend more than 2 points on any attribute or skill. However, and this is what I see as the unique thing. Your culture, concept, and cult raises that maximum.
It raises the max level.
Yes. So if you did not have a culture, concept, or cult, you can only spend in each attribute or in each attribute 3, each skill 2.
Okay, now I know exactly what they did. They did file the numbers off Shadowrun 5th edition, which was extremely popular in Germany, by the way, because that's what Metatype does.
Ah, that makes
Metatype does
sense.
that. For example, humans have 6 all around. They don't have the highest limit unless you go heavily on your cyberware. But their big advantage is they have what's called edge. They are luckier than the other races. Then you have, for example, trolls. Their body limit can go up to 9, and they usually start with a +3. In exchange, though, things like logic you can only max out to 5. It's basically just taking metatype and slightly rejiggering it a bit.
I see.
And what they did was they tried to make it more even. I'm noticing they seem to have a bit of a D&D 4th edition equality mindset going, because notice that their skills try to give physical, mental, and social aspects to each of the attributes.
Yeah, I see that.
It's a very cynical attempt to keep every player even, I'm noticing.
Or at least I think gear you towards a particular type of
Oh no,
play
you
style.
can still cheese the fuck out of this. I'm just pointing out that that's what they're doing.
So, for instance, if you pick the culture of Borka, your maximum for your attributes of agility and instinct go up by 1, and your toughness, artifact lore, engineering, crafting, and survival go up by 1. For Franca, it's charisma and instinct, Poland, body and instinct, and each of these, the skills go up orientating towards what we learn about in their lore. So, for instance, with Hispania, there's a lot of that guerrilla fighting they were talking about, being on your own. So not navigation, this orienteering, melee, mobility, stealth makes a lot of sense. Africa, it's a lot of expression, reaction, medicine. But then you have concept. Concept is based on the archetypes of the apocalyptic tarot, embodying a path of life. It's around 2 concepts, and they bring a bonus, this time for 1 attribute and 2 skills.
I like how they have fucking cards.
Yes,
I
it's the
don't.
tarot.
I don't.
It is the tarot.
What'd you miss? Basically, me just kind of comparing this to other D6 systems and finding this to be pretentious mediocrity.
So, if you've ever known about the tarot or played the game Binding of Isaac, you might recognize some of these guys. The
Oh, I
creator,
don't hate the crunch. The basic
yeah,
crunch is fine. It's just that they're so fucking pretentious with how they handle it, and I don't like their obsession with limiting skills to 6, especially since their advanced maximum is very heavily borrowing from Shadowrun. I don't know. It's just there's other D6 systems out there, and this still isn't drawing me. It's competent. It's fine. D6 dice pulls are great. There are two issues I have, and the other big issue is, hey, did you know that you can get 3 successes on a difficulty 4 roll, but because, oh no, you rolled 4 1s, you critically botched, motherfucker. Even if those 3 successes you got were 6s, which, by the way, counts as super successes or triggers.
I do like some of the language in here, like the hermit. The hermit does not want companionship. He dislikes everybody. He doesn't want to communicate and is not interested in the stories of others. In a group, he always flees to the fringe, eating his distance from the din of the world. Life as a loner is so much better. No responsibility towards anybody. Being left to his own devices makes the hermit happy. Only in absolute solitude does he find peace.
Well, yeah, because that's the one that the asshole player who doesn't interact with the rest of the party will pick.
Then the heretic,
By the way, these are
he looks
kind
for,
of Weenie Hut Jr. compared to the actual tarot. I'm gonna be blunt.
well, it's the apocalyptic tarot.
And yet they're less interesting than
Ooh.
things like Death, or the Tower, or the Hanged Man.
Well, not if you're trying to make a society out of these.
No, it's not the botches from World of Darkness. Ones do not take away successes. It's just, let's say, for example, you need 2 successes on a roll, and you roll 1 success and it's like a 5. Oh no, you rolled 2 1s. It doesn't eat away your success, it just means that since you didn't get the target number, you botch anyway. Which I think is just stupid. I personally think that's kind of stupid.
Let's see. So your tarot code and your concept, it's a different attribute and 2 different skills.
Yeah, I have to agree, Squirrel Killer. These tarot options are kind of lame. If you're wondering what the purpose of them are, it allows you to further cheese your maximum number.
I wouldn't say it's cheese when that's the intent of the entire game.
I know. I'm just poking fun at the fact that hypothetically you could really make this bullshit.
And then finally, the cult. And the cult does not give an attribute bonus. It gives instead 5 skills an additional max bonus. And some of these seem to mix. mix it seems more like you get 3 for your mental abilities or attributes and 2 for your physical. Although some like the Spitalions, 4 for your
Oh no,
mental and
I
1.
was already looking at the trash fire that was the Scourgers, which further proves they're just chimp people.
Yeah,
The other Africans at least get something intellectual to do. These guys don't even get like leadership or nothing, even though they're supposed to be a military. They're literally just chimps. They're fucking chimps. I'm sorry. It really is amazing how how this book did that, but they just keep
I
going. They just keep
I
going.
not they just don't care. The next thing is your backgrounds. So you have again 6 backgrounds with a score between 0 and 6. You start with 4 points to assign to the 6 backgrounds. No trait, though, can rise above 3 at this point.
And this is where they're borrowing from World of Darkness directly.
Yeah. So you can put into allies.
They even have it called resources. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what other word would you use?
No, it's just like, okay, I know exactly where you took it from. It's fine.
And then you have authority, renown, yeah, resources, secrets, and network. And they seem to focus on within your cult. So, like your resources, it's not really just your money. It is objects that are valued within the cult.
Oh, yeah,
So
we're
your
gonna show that off too, but there's not gonna be a helpful relay chart. Spoilers. They show those, and they don't actually have a simple cheat sheet to find them again.
yeah. then obviously you assign your points.
Shatter on 5th edition is a dumpster fire of a book, but you know what you can at least do? You can make cheat sheets for that.
You get also various feats called potentials.
They couldn't even be bothered to build a proper fucking gravestone for this guy. They just piled him under rocks. It's like Captain Kirk's death in Generations.
But then finally,
They didn't even try. They didn't even try to bury him.
when you are done with, well, the thing is, none of those guys are Anabaptists. They don't give a shit.
Yeah,
They
but the
don't.
Anabaptists didn't give a shit either. They're the ones that probably put it there.
Maybe they put it there. Who knows? But
We buried him as he wanted, so that the
then
animals could get at him.
then comes the classes, and the way that happens is you have to
This
have
dude's
certain
pose is fucked.
prerequisites.
This dude's pose is fucked. The battalions are fucked.
Well, yeah, he's got that stare of a dead-eyed soul who's just seen another person die on the operating table and just doesn't
No,
give a
that's the
shit.
face of a man who just accidentally shot himself so hard that the biofeedback bag can't hold it all. Either that or his lumbago's acting up.
But
By the way,
so,
the prerequisites, I now know where they're stealing this from. Rollhammer Fantasy role playing. You needed certain requirements to enter into those.
and as you can see with like a
They they
recruit,
even they even have the equipment, which is also a
yeah,
requirement.
which it, well, the equipment is what you're given, not what you need.
Ah, okay.
Because how, for instance, for the recruit, how could you get the manual? So then orderly, you need to have a combination of 4 for int and medicine, and a 4 for bod and stamina. If you do not have that, you cannot go up to the next level. Which means that most cases, you are starting out at like a level, at your level 2 or your level 3. And only later are you going up into your various other skills, your various other classes.
I mean, from what I understand, I think you do get a free points initially based on your character creation, at least in a couple of cases. You might hypothetically be able to become a field medic, for example, at that rank.
Field medic, yes. I definitely you can become a field
Hygienist,
medic
yes.
or a
I think hygienist is
po-
also doable.
or possibly a no, not a preservist yet. Because it's renowned 4 and you can only put 3 into up to 3 into it. And actually, preservist. Remember how we talked about initially with the cults, like that one guy who had a lot of burn in him, who was a Spitalian?
Yeah?
Well, they say here they are allowed to use but not misuse burn unpunished. So he was free to use the burn.
I feel like that's just an excuse for their cool OC they made up when they field tested this kit. Because they do game testing. That's probably a character they made, and they just said, fuck it. I want to be able to play him, even though by their own logic, he would be executed! Also, does
I
Degenesis have anything it didn't take from anything else? No, they did make their own system. It's very clear where their inspiration came from.
It is just a gestalt
I would say
of
I would
various
say
other.
it's more of a system that's unique compared to Coyote and Crow, which was just literally the D10 system turned to D12.
And I do like some of these others. You can get up to your as a consultant, one of the highest levels, one of the people in charge of the cult. Someone must leave the cult though, or an elder, in which case you must be 60 years old or or older and renowned 4. So if you end up playing this enough, you could end up getting to that high level.
You
You
could.
probably aren't.
I mean, you're almost certainly not, because the whole point of these settings are they're so crowded in terms of relevant people usually that there's not really much of a chance.
They do say for the provost, the head of the preservists, Kranzler would have to step down, and then you would have to be appointed by the consultants. And then you have various potentials. So, for instance, splaying. Splaying is activated with 2 triggers, and you get defense of 1 and handling of 1 dice for 1 round using your splayer blade, the long
Oh,
blade with the mollusk thing on it.
they're not very good at explaining the things you can pull off with these. Because these are like the potentials are abilities. I didn't even know that's what they were, but basically these are things that can happen if you're of a certain prerequisite level or what you can do.
I do actually like here. So there's a prerequisite potential for focus and one for primal, which means, yeah, you can actually take primal for one of the more, I guess, intellect-based factions.
No, that's not impressive to me because you'd have to at least give reasons for why you'd pick that as your primary governing body stat. Because if they didn't do that, then God, imagine if you tried to be one, like you wanted to play against type.
Well, you could be a character that is, yeah, you know medicine and everything, but you really want to fight the primer. Were taken in by the Spitalians after your family was annihilated by a Ferromancer or a Biokinetic or whatever, and so you really want to unleash rage against them.
Okay.
The next up is our Chronicler.
Which if you don't remember what they are, I don't blame you. They look cool, but at the end of the day, they're just fucking Twitch streamers. Hey chat, this is gonna be poggers. I'm gonna kill this man. Chat, check it out. Look. Oh my god, look what I did.
I
Look what I
gotta find the
did.
stream.
Brain rot.
I'm
Brain rot. Brain rot.
streaming.
Brain rot take. Brain rot take.
I need to find the skibbity.
Rip Elbozo. Rip Elbozo. His head is on the ground. Rip Elbozo.
And they have their own potentials.
Don't really like some of the names. Just
Download, upload, a zero, a needle.
yeah, if you
Actually,
can't tell, they don't
I do
know
like
nothing.
with the zero. The Zero has hacked into the system of the cluster and given himself access to all secret caches of sanctioned technology. His resource level rises to 6. However, when a Zero invests in recess points, it becomes more likely that the cluster tracks him down. Cluster starts at perception 0. Every point of resource used as 1 dice and starts a conflict with the Zero, who counters by using uh, Psi plus Deception. If the cluster wins, a shutter shows up within 1 hour. In the case of 2 triggers, a fuse takes the cleaning job, and even more scalers track to do it. So you abandon the cult, and you get access to a shit ton of resources, though every chance of using it invites trouble.
Which, if you're wondering, is again, this is. Oh god, these are complete tech idiots that don't know nothing about technology, trying to borrow from the fucking Deckers from Shadowrun. Because this is just GOD. This is just GOD from Shadowrun 5th edition. This is Overwatch. This is them trying to understand, but without understanding how Overwatch works.
Oh, I know very well how Overwatch works. You you buy skins, and then do you even play a game?
I was specifically referring to. So in Shadowrun, there's this basically the sixth world at this point. The cyberspace and the internet and technology has gotten to the point where the dreams of the metaverse and everything is basically there, and alternate reality via virtual space is a thing. Deckers and technomancers can fuck with that. And because of that, corporations have bounded together into I forget, it's called GOD, but the concept is essentially they are the cybersecurity departments working together to crush independent tech people, like hackers. That's what a zero is. They are a decker that's basically doing a run against the corporation, which in this case would be the chroniclers. The chroniclers are
Ah,
essentially sending their G-men because if you botch it, if you fuck up and get too noisy, which is the term, they'll kick in the door. By the way, Shadowrun does it a lot cooler because do you know what their avatars depicting the people they send to kick your door in look like?
what?
Bland, gray-suited 1930s FBI men. They're all called G-men because of it.
Let's see, though. Next
There's a
is
lot
the
of creativity in Shadowrun. Yes, playing a Decker is suffering, but you can play around with Techomancy and it's pretty good. Uh, it's really fun. It's really fun if you can get it to play well with the rest of the party.
but then you have your uh, Helvetics, and
Oh, you
I do like
forgot the
it.
Needles, which are basically those who become gods to clanners. You basically front
Ooh,
yourself as a god to them, or at least a godling because of your tech knowledge.
yeah.
I'm just
With the Hel,
envisioning. I'm just envisioning you walk to like a local clan of Polish people that have been reduced to like caveman, and you just show them how to turn on a lighter. Like you find a lighter, you click it, and it starts blasting flames, and they just start screaming like chimps.
I
And,
can
and
get
then the
them to go to
Scourgers are
space.
screaming like chimps, but they always do that, so you ignore them.
Wait, wait, no, no, no. You, you go to the Balkans. You try to resurrect Slavjank. But moving on to the Helvetics, I do like for their equipment,
By
5
the way,
rounds per
by
month.
the way, this
Er,
Helvetic, this is what since you mentioned Overwatch, this feels like a skin for a looter shooter that's about to go out of business because live services are not profitable anymore. This feels
And
like a design you'd see in Concord before the pronouns professor forced her to become fat and covered in armor.
yeah, no, I was gonna say it doesn't look diverse enough. The hair's too natural.
But here is the list for the Helvetics.
I do like again for you get your gun and you get an additional 5 rounds per month, which goes up with your ranks.
Nah, it's lame.
The theme of it
Lame.
was that they're very stringent with resources, so I
No, I
like the
get it,
idea
but
of
it's lame. It's lame and has been done before in Fallout 2. And it was played for comedy, and it was just a one-off joke.
wait, when was that in Fallout 2?
Remember when you got the scavenged Enclave armor and the sergeant chews you out for treating it like shit, and he says that it'll be taken out of your paycheck for the next 20 years
No, no, it wasn't 20 years.
or
You'll
for
be in that
life.
armor until you're 510 years old, because that's how long it takes to pay back your power armor on your salary.
Yep, that was a lot funnier than whatever the fuck this is.
And then next is your judges.
I think it would have been
That's,
funnier if you had the equipment include like you get 1K ration per week.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it
that would
should
be
it
fun.
should have been basically if you're efficient with your ammunition, you get rewards like a K ration, which is a little chocolate bar, like a
You
little
get
crappy chocolate bar.
semi-edible food.
You get a proper cot rather than the floor.
That okay, yeah, I will agree. That would be funny.
That's why I don't like it because they only care about bullets, which to me feels like they were looking at Metro with the bullet, the bullet economy. And they were like,
Yeah, yeah.
we gotta do bean counters, and they just kind of they did it in the lamest way possible. I'm sorry, it's just like, come on.
They should have given it to the Germans, not the Swiss. Then
By the way, they can actually go die in a fire because I saw shield wall. That means they do pike formations. Die, die, die with your uncreativity.
well, they do it with a bayonet instead.
Die with your uncreativity.
That's
I remember
but
when I
you're
complimented them for not doing that, and then they decided to prove that they are that fucking stupid.
yeah. But then you're judges, and I do like with the city
Hey, look,
judge.
it's Ricky Rackets, the real king, after the
Oh,
divorce.
oh my God, it is. It is Nick Rekieta.
It's Dick Ricada after he lost more hair from the cocaine. His wife and kids left him. His hooker left him. He can't get
He's
coke
off.
no more, so he decided to
He's,
get fit to work out his anger.
and he traded the Whippets for Spore or Burn.
There we go.
But the city judge, I do like that part of your equipment is the leather coat and hat and the hammer.
Walking
It is
around in my cowboy
mandatory.
boots.
You get a musket at level 3 with 1D round per month.
They really think they're so cute with the ammunition's really fucking limited.
Well,
Smugly
that's
chuckles.
that's 2 dice.
Smuckles.
So I guess that might be accuracy.
Not gonna lie, I really hate. Yeah, this is your reward. You get this amount of. Unless they're trying to do what the Alien RPG did. Free League did that, where your resources are basically tracked by usage. Like if you get a 1, you use it.
Hmm.
Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. I don't particularly like it though. I don't
I
think
do
it's
like
cute. I think it's kind of
yeah.
fucking lame.
With the supreme judge, you do have to have the prior leader step down. It's a very old fuck.
He stepped down due to
So
tax evasion.
we take it very seriously, judge. And I quote by Solzhenitsyn.
By the way, another half a page that could have been used elsewhere.
I do like. However, when you've robbed a man of everything, he's no longer in your power. He's free again.
It should have been a quote about the justice system or something.
Yeah.
I feel like they just kind of randomly went on inspiringquotes.com. They went on inspiringquotes.com and just kind of randomly picked one.
I do like though you have one of the potentials being lynch law. You can summon a mob, and presumably then to lynch people.
Yeah. Is
Then
this
nope,
boob?
nope,
No, it's
nope. Just that
dangerously boob though.
it's side and under boob. But this is our clanner, and the clanner actually does have a unique system because I don't believe they had it listed of your bonuses. And if we go down to the next page, you are able to basically create your own clan.
That
Various
sound
tech levels.
that sounds cool until you realize low key that this is because they ran out of ideas for them.
Well, it's because they're so varied.
No,
Like,
it's because they couldn't be fucked to give you examples, and as a result, they don't have abilities. You have to essentially pick and choose your abilities, which I think is kind of crap.
listen, if I wanted to make my army of wandering sci-fi tech Jews, I'm making my clan of sci-fi tech Jews.
I usually like toolkitting, but when every other group before this doesn't allow you to do that, it really
Well,
fucking
it
pops out
doesn't
like a
because
sore
they're
thumb.
set and defined. They made a point of this in lore, is that there are so many different cults or not so
I
many
don't
different
give a
clans
shit.
throughout the world.
I don't give a shit because this is going to be one of 2 that do that. This is them trying to add as much as they could without thinking through what their consequences of that would be in terms of design. All vision, no thought. Usually I'd like something like this because I love generators like this. In another book, I would have loved this. Not in this one. Which is a shame because I do like when I'm looking at, they go into nice details about what their tech level would be like, what
So
their
I
world
think
view would be. I like
yeah,
that. It's just compare that to like The Neo-Libyans, for example.
So I
You
think
don't
what you're
get any
getting at, yeah,
potentials.
that's right. Yeah, I think that if this was
That's
in a
my
book that
problem.
had been presented a bit better, and you were in a better light or better perspective of this, you would enjoy it.
What? I would have enjoyed it if it was more consistent and you could pick, like, let's say they had examples of potentials you could pick. My guess is that's what the cultural identity is supposed to do, but it just doesn't feel like it does.
They do say chapter 10 has many examples of clan-specific potentials and powers.
That's
It's
because
a
that's
lot
because they
more
realized what the fuck they
your
did.
clan is I want to create something different from what I've been given. If I want to do an African setting and I don't want to play as
No
the
one wants to play
LARPing
the Scourgers.
Egyptians, the bankers, or the ape howling scourgers, there you go. You got a lot more shit that you can use.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if one of their big things that they brag about and applaud is their lore, that's a testament to you need to fix the lore for them.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
Like I said, I'm reading this. This is currently my favorite part in the book. My problem is, why the fuck do they not have potentials here, where every other faction did? Admittedly, I don't think the Scrappers do either.
Let's move on then with the scrappers. So scrappers,
No, they
you
get
actually don't.
potentials, so never fucking mind.
Yeah, I do have to say you actually don't get a lot of equipment for being a scrapper.
Well, yeah, you've repeatedly said it's because all of the best stuff has already been looted. So you're kind of given what you can find at best. See, oh wow, they didn't even care. Look at this.
For what? The Neo-Libyan?
No, no, Lone
Oh,
Wolf equipment, fuck you. Cave Bear, fuck you.
let's see. Lone. He has spent more time with his.
Alpha
Well,
Wolf, fuck
you
you.
got your you
Legend,
would have got
fuck you.
you would have gotten your rifle from Fox, and you get. Oh wait, no, I see. The trade-off is this. It seems like they get larger, more distinct, like skill-based bonuses. Like the Lone Wolf, okay, no equipment, but you get 1D to all rolls that collect scrap. Potential upgrades for your rifle goes up by 1. Uh, to escape territory, you get 2 additional dice on agility and stealth or uh, bod athletics. But I think that's the
The concept
trade-off
of the
here.
Cave Bear is pretty stupid.
Well, they're the ones that work with the chroniclers.
I mean, sure, but it sounds dumb.
Yeah, they're going with an animal theme with this, and I
And
don't
I
think
don't
Cave
like
Bear
it.
would have been the best.
I don't like it. This feel It's funny because they actually have potentials unlike clanners, but I'd actually argue that the clanners progression structure feels more natural.
And it's a little bit simplistic, but yeah,
They're
I would agree.
clanners. It's
There's
fine. I don't mind them having a simpler. I don't mind them having a simpler tree.
honestly, I think you could scrap the scrappers.
You probably should. I mean, their purpose is basically gone anyway at this point, since it's been how long since they've basically plundered all of Europe?
500 years.
Yeah,
It's 500 years in the Ashton. And speaking of the people who have robbed Europe of its culture and technology, Neo-Libyan.
behold, those who culturally enrich, and despite being civilized, we still have to point out that they're from sub-Saharan Africa because of look at this witch doctor ass fucking staff. We are hip with the kids. We understand racial and cultural sensitivity. I do like his rifle though. It's pretty flash.
It is a nice rifle.
It's pretty flash and I like the stylization on it. It should be fucking gold plated though. It should be like really fucking gaudy and awesome though.
So as a merchant, uh, you can actually basically get loans. If you want to borrow money or for an endeavor from the Bank of Commerce, you need an Anubian Soul Seer at your side.
which I think is a bit
Those only
weird.
come with a merchant's renown of 2. The Soul Seer affirms his credibility. The merchant gets a loan in resources equaling his authority for 1 year, which means if he has authority 3, he gets +3 resources. Now you're indebted to the bank and you have to pay back the loan the next year, losing double the amount of resource points. Which means you gotta find good shit fast. And then you can split off into 3 different branches of being a seafarer, a magnate, which can lead you to become a raider, or an ambassador.
Uh, Another
And again,
design feature I don't like is that it kind of goes upward from the path completely rather than cover all of the ranks at the same time. Because it goes from
yeah,
seafarer to cartographer to great hunter, and then down to magnet, and then back up. I don't like that either. But that's just me. I understand why they did that because once you become a seafarer, you can only become a cartographer or a great hunter after that.
yeah. And it looking at a
Also,
lot
I
of,
do think it's kind of horseshit that, these Neo-Libyans, you need to get an Anubian to fucking confirm your loans. That's kind of dumb.
well, you need somebody who can see your soul and verify. They don't have, credit agencies in this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, that almost feels a bit more like they borrowed from Shadowrun, specifically the concept of the sin.
Hmm.
Social identity number. Basically, everything is checked by your sin.
And I and
Which
I yeah. And I also see with this though is that yeah, you do not get equipment, but you get these abilities to, you know, get a lot of shit from your resources or improve your renown. Like with the console, network permanently raised by 1. And network is interactions within other cults. Or raider, you can just get 10 time you get 1d times renown times 10 scrappers for 10 dinars a day. So you just get an army
like I get
at
it, but the way their abilities are kind of written out, I don't like it. I don't like this.
I can see it too because it very much gears you then towards a specific style of play. If you get to those higher levels,
You're just sending people out to do your job. It's basically the same reason why stuff like the War Priest from the, not War Priest. There's several prestige classes in D&D in the Book of Miniatures that deals with minion mancy, like the Marshal, and then there's also, I believe, the War Chief, and that type of gameplay is usually really fucking boring. Like minion mancy is cool. It sounds really cool. But if you yourself don't really improve all that much, it makes you become a fucking lump. I get what they're going for. I fundamentally disagree with the principles, especially since the benefits are based on if you can actually even get to your account. Which, hey, guess what in Cyberpunk? Guess what in Shadowrun you can do? You can just use your cred stick or relate yourself to one of the millions of crypto banks around the world. You can literally access it digitally via the Matrix. So you always have your scrap on. Yeah, you already have your new yen on hand.
so speaking of scrap, actually not scrap, next up is the Scourgers, your favorite group.
Ah, here they are, showing the traditional tribal wear as understood by the Germans. They are
You know, the
based on
tribal
Shaka Zulu.
AK-47. Is that even an AK-47?
That might be an attempt at making an AK. That might be actually. I don't think that the base is an AK-74. I think
It's an AK-74 from Call of Duty.
it's partially an AK-74. It's with heavy modifications based on its stock. It has a foldable stock. I
It's
think
got a
that's a
grip.
silencer attached to it at the bottom.
Is that no, I thought it's a grip.
It might be. Oh, it is a second grip because this son of a bitch is bullpup. Not bullpup. It's not bullpup. Bullpup's
Double
reverse.
tapped. What if I remember back from my Black Ops days? Was it grenade attachment, noob tube, ACOG scope? I don't know what I'm saying.
I like how he's completely and utterly tribal, except for the flak jacket. It's just a testament to how they are literally chimp people that do not speak words. Simba.
Oh, actually, here, Dufu. He has to prove himself every day, scouting enemies and hunting wild animals. He continuously gets into fights and must defend himself against his pack.
Lame.
Um, the Simba. He has the right to challenge the strongest enemy and to accomplish the greatest heroic deeds. He must do so unassisted. If he declines to fight or loses, his renown decreases by 1. Should his renown fall to 2, he must resign and become a Damu again.
The thing I hate most about this is they are literally chimps. This is literally just it's not even clanner level tribal. It's them fucking oh god. It's like a troop of chimps if they decided to give them guns.
I,
You know what we could have gotten? We could have gotten people who can communicate with animals and plants telekinetically because of their connection to the psychovore. We could have had people ride in on sentient camels mutated by this, which would have been amazing.
instead,
Instead, we
it's
get
fight. Instead, it's fight for honor with bare fists.
instead it's I have nothing but contempt.
Let's see. The potentials. Hyena's laughter. Oh god, no. The chuckling, screaming, and laughing of the hyena tells the crow that the pack is coming. Its wings will soon be clipped. Actually, it is not hyenas making those sounds, but scourgers inciting each other and screaming their tension into the face of the enemy.
You like how they are
Oh,
really trying as hard as they can
fuck.
to make them chimp people. Oh yeah, that
Screaming
was from
Africans.
Majora's Mask. They just traced something from Majora's Mask on that motherfucker. Nice. I also see Crash Bandicoot. I also see Aku Aku from Crash Bandicoot on there. Excellent. Excellent.
Become the lion incarnate, roaring and attacking. Next up is the Anubian with red hair. And
Oh,
a
they're doing the Nubian thing. They're literally being like, we was Kangs because Nubia. This is something that the traditional Kushite kingdom did.
Oh,
The
wait,
pro
really?
Yes, the problem is everything else you're seeing on here is literally stolen from every other South Saharan African group that you can fucking think of. So they got one part of the ancient culture correct and then fucked up the rest of it because they don't give a shit.
And it looks like with these guys, you can either use your prerequisites could be either faith or willpower or focus or primal. You get resistance to the psychovore.
Oh, you don't even get immunity because. By the way, for people that came back from the dead, they don't look. They're kind of boring. You'd think they'd look more necrotic, like fucking pitch black from their skin drying out.
Let's see. Here's the Soul Seer. The Soul Seers are used by the Bank of Commerce to measure their business partner's threat of life. The Soul Seer goes deep inside the life and deeds of the person he looks at. Without a trigger, you can only guess their mood, but with every trigger, the information gets more solid. Health, latent illnesses, future calamities. Oh, wait a minute.
So does that mean that the bankers that are the most interesting group are now actually suspicious Ooga Boogas too? Did they make all of the
No,
Africans
it's not
fucking
suspicious.
stereotypes?
It's not suspicious. Whatever.
Superstitious,
No,
not suspicious.
whatever like nanomachine is in them, it's a medical diagnosis AI machine.
I could have fucking told you that. That's literally what the point was. They tested
They
nanite
have
goo to come
fucking
back from the
WebMD
dead.
installed in their bodies.
No, it's nanite goo that was supposed to bring people back from the dead in the style of Herbert West Reanimator. I was well aware it was medical based. I don't give a shit because they don't do anything interesting with it. I mean, this is kind of interesting, but it's done in a lame way.
Actually, the Hekaton can just put someone dead inside of an animal and bring them back to life. Yeah, they could just do that.
That's stupid. By the way,
The sickle,
Hecate. So they could not even be bothered to come up with the term Osiren, huh? Hey,
let's see,
dumbass, you based them on the fucking culture of Egypt. Why did you use the Greek goddess of magic, you fucking neo-pagan idiots?
because Ptolemies.
They didn't even venerate Hecate at that point. They adopted mostly the Egyptian gods to look more fucking naturally native. Oh my god. Other than ones like Serapis, also Asclepius, the god of healing. They didn't even reference
Asclepius,
him.
of course.
I fucking hate this book, man.
The sickle, though, I do like, gets a Kopesh.
Cool. It's like the first thing I would have thought of if I made an Egyptian themed anything. Do they get a chariot powered by zebras too?
That would be cool. No, they get the Eye of Horus. Wait, they get the eye.
Neat.
Oh, fuck, they become Chaos Space Marines.
Okay.
Actually, no. Let's see. They use the Eye of Horus. It's a potential to feel disturbances of the wave across kilometers. They, it's to find psychonauts and probably to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is the Jehomadans, and they have, I'd say, one of the more branching branches, I guess.
Hey, look, it's a bread tuber after they lost their career.
Destiny, no!
No, seriously, you can see like 5,000 of them. They're all over the place in California.
Aren't they on fire?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Kopeshes are actually kind of a sword that's axe-like because swords evolved from axes.
Actually, wait, go back up. I realize what his weapon is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking, it's a fucking hammer.
Yeah. It's a ball peen hammer with a pick.
If you are in this melee, you cannot touch women. You just can't.
Okay.
If you are an isekai or an izaki, you get a horse and a saber.
I I, I don't have words.
If you are if you are an Arianoi, you get the blood of Ares and a ram skin cape.
I like how the Hagari's sole purpose is to kill themselves by human shielding. Literally, they throw themselves open to die.
Well, yeah, she's supposed to protect her tribe, as
Uh-huh.
Jahamid says.
Uh-huh.
An
I,
immaculate. Prerequisite: over 30 winters old and unmarried, or her brahmi died before having sex with her. Considered a holy woman.
so the results of all of the Jehamedans suck. I'm reading all of them, and this is just fucking lame.
Let's see the potentials.
I don't like any. I don't like any. Like the more I read about the Jebusites, the more uninteresting I find them, which is kind of impressive.
They're trying to make them like post-apocalyptic Jews.
No, not at all.
Post-apocalyptic Abrahamics.
And they still fucked that
Abrahamic
up.
LARPers. The yeah, just fail. Though the next page, skip page, I believe 80.
So you see this girl that looks like a Native American because of the fucking crow skull and the headdress. The reason this book would actually have to be shrink wrapped with an 18 plus in the adult section is because she's completely topless.
She's
Just
an
to let those know.
apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic is their excuse to basically just show off boobs and be gooners.
Because live free, die young.
When in reality, it should be gay, do crime, snort meth. There you go.
And they get various
Uh, oh,
items.
these are just Slaneshi at home. We have Slaneshi at home.
Very much tied to your flock and what you can do.
I don't like the bird theme at all.
I don't. Yeah.
This sucks.
But then you have your Anabaptists.
God, wow, all of them suck. Not the Anabaptists. I haven't gotten there yet.
Uh,
By the way, an interesting side fact is all of the ladies with booba are surrounded by ugly bastards, so you know what type of things they watch.
well, they are German.
The bird
Actually, I'm surprised.
theming reminds you of Zinch, but they literally do drugs and do crime, so you know.
They're kind of a mix of they've got this kind. They really use that tarot, and they're mimetic based cultists that do drugs
It's actually
and
a
crime.
testament to how bad their actual religion. Well, maybe the Anabaptists won't be shit. Maybe they're just merely boring Gnostics. Maybe the rankings will be interesting.
So you start off as a touch. You get your 3-dot tattoo, which actually gives you a mental defense of 1 dice, and a ring through your nose to chain the souls of the body. You get a long spade and grain to symbolize the expansion of his pneuma.
I don't remember what Numa is.
I guess it's their connection to maybe the spirit world or something like that.
Don't know. Don't really care at this point.
Then you have your, if you go up to the branch of the ascetic, you get seeds. Yay, seeds.
This is ass.
Then you become an Elysian. You can farm, uh, I guess, oils and
By the way,
various healing
Adriatic
herbs,
Sea. Yeah, you know how the Mediterranean's shrinking? That should be salt flats, you fucking morons.
but it's an Edenic river.
Should not be an Edenic river. It should be poison. Literal poison.
Though if you are an orgiastic, you go that path, you get a Byhounder. Get it? Bidehounder?
So you just touch people like our former president and fall asleep?
You get Biden hands. No, it's a two-hander. You know it's Zweihander?
Yeah, and that's stupid. I know what a Zweihander is. I know what bi means in terms of the numerical. You could have called it a Diehander, and it would have worked just as well.
Wouldn't that mean a 10 sword?
No, that's Deca. Die also means duality.
Ah,
They should have just called it a fucking Zweihander, but they couldn't be arsed.
you get potentials. Oh, you get the killing joke. Not the comic. It's a
Wow,
special
even
sword attack.
every organized religion they cooked up just it's like taking Ambien and just hoping you fall asleep. It's
It's
Ambien.
but it is a special sword attack. The attack roll is made at -5 dice, but the antagonist gets +1 dice per potential level. You get up to 3 in the potential level. You turn the sword around, hits with half their crossguard. If it succeeds, the opponent loses all consciousness at once, losing all ego points.
Oh, by the way, one of their potentials is Fisherman's Blood, which basically just means they and murder people and go into a frenzy. They kind of suck. Anyway, here's a paler who kind of looks like a generico dark elf, I guess. I don't know. I don't
You start
know.
off, yeah. You start off with a specter, and your prerequisite, you have to be born in darkness.
You know the best part about this is
Nobody's
we
born in
read
the darkness.
we read Werewolf Shattered Nation to get hyped for this. It's so
The
dull.
hype is dead. All is a lie. But the Spectre was born in the darkness, molded by it. You also get -1 to your attack and defense in bright sunlight.
Okay.
And let's see, you get, as you level up, you get various sun discs. At Reviver, you just get a submachine gun. Let's see, Cyclops Eye.
I like how you
You get a
also get a random gold strip.
yeah. Demagogue. You can project the emotion he has mastered with a +2 dice bonus on his counterpart. He is immune to the suggestions of other demagogues. He has trained his vocal cords to the limit. He can imitate any sound, speak with the voices of several people present, and project them into a room. He can make guttural and archaic sounds and create a veritable din and thus confuses enemies. If he uses his voice, he gets 3 dice to Psi plus Deception, Psi plus Domination, Charisma plus Arts Singing, and 3 plus 2 Cunning or Sign Cunning in the Dark. And then if you are at level 4, you are a Halo. You have found a sleeper and turning your back on your false gods. And so even in the character section, we get more meta plot.
Cool. Uh, this is like taking some really good fucking sleep medication.
It's the gaming version of Ambien.
It's the gaming version of taking Xanax when you don't need it.
And then after that, you get your potentials.
This is the Rohypnol of gaming.
You get your equipment, everything, experience. Then let's just go to page 100 to show off the character sheet.
By the way, here are the finances, and this is what you're dealing with: dinars and chronicler drafts.
And do you know what the exchange rate is between uh, actual currency and a fake one made up by autistic LARPers?
Equal.
What do you 1 to 1. Because who gives a fuck about that?
Yeah.
Why even make the difference if they're the fucking same?
They found a way to make a D6 dice system so fucking boring I don't want to even try to roll for it. I don't know how
And then
they
you get
pulled it off, but they did it. Here's the character sheet concept. They just threw the concept as they were designing it here. Here's what it looks like, motherfucker.
it's artistic.
I I am so tempted to just start screaming and I don't know why.
Do you want to just call it then?
No, because we still have more to look through, unfortunately.
Well, I would say let's pick what section you want to go to.
Death is part of a game. I'm just quickly. Okay, so this is just battle mechanics. You can spend up to 3 ego points openly or covertly. Oh god, really? They're doing that? I'm just going to go through a quick run through of these chapters because at this point, after reading what they did with character creation and fucked it up, I'm just going to, like, we're fucked speedrunning this. I ain't doing no fucking part 4 tonight. I ain't doing no goddamn part 4. So yeah, you secretly spend ego points, which can play around with your initiative. You then add your bonus dice, and then bonus dice to initiative roll. And the way they don't give examples of it, and then they do give examples of it, but because they wrote it in a way that's trying to be artsy, they fucked it up, which is a fucking shame. This is contemptuous. This is fucking atrocious. They can't even explain how initiative works in a way any bumbo can do it. Like you literally have to read through their stupid imaginary LARP just to get, you roll 5 successes and 2 triggers. He gets an additional action. 2 successes and as does monitor. Broken ribs from an earlier conflict resulting in 1 trauma, -1D, still has 3 successes. So what they have decided to do is they decided to steal from Shadowrun for initiative, where the way Shadowrun works is via what's called sweeps. What happens is, if you get over 10 on your initiative, you have the potential to act multiple times per round. So, for example, let's say you're playing a Fizzad who's really agile, right? And you have an improved initiative ability. You can get like 18. Let's say you get really lucky and you get something ridiculous like a 21. You can act 3 goddamn times in a round.
Oh, that's broken.
You do roll a d6, so it's variable. Basically, your initiative is static except for the d6 random variety, and this is if you're really cheesing it. Most of the time, you'll only be able to act twice, except in situations like the Matrix, which have different rules, especially if you're particularly skilled at running Matrix stuff. So that's what they're basing it on, so I'm just going to move on from there because, okay, attack. There are several ways to vanquish your opponent. Not all of them draw blood. Actually fucking shoot yourself. I'm sorry, I'm getting pissed.
Get pissed. This will actually get exciting then.
So, yeah, they're really fucking poorly explaining how melee works. I have read Shadowrun 5th edition, which, by the way, if you want to know how to count your gear or how it works, you have to go like 200 pages back in a random subcategory in the fucking chapter to find it. And it's still better than this. Active defense. You forego unaction, which, by the way, is stolen from fucking Shadowrun 5th, which is proving what they're goddamn doing. Reload. Let me guess. Is it, oh, look. It's a simple or a complex action, which means you burn an action for it. Herpaderp-derp. Handling, how does it rely on? It adds to your attack and defense roll, which represents accuracy. Distance, which they are basing on a simplified version of Shadowrun. Damage, which uses physical force. Do they have a variant like stunning? No, because that would be too complicated. Magazines, which is something that's tracked in Shadowrun 5th and probably where they stole it from. Encumbrance, which is something that they did add. I'll give
Oh,
them
that
credit. They did add encumbrance.
if the sum is lower than bod plus force, the fighter can carry equipment without any problems. If the sum is higher, you suffer an overall penalty
I
equal to the
believe
difference
it might be
between.
partially based on strength, but the way they're statting it is unique, so I'll give them that at least.
Yeah, this is a unique way to use force.
Slots and tech levels, which, by the way, if you're fucking wondering, is like weapons modifications because certain guns can only be modified so much, stolen from Shadowrun. Hey, look, it's Eggman after he took the black pill and lost weight.
I've realized the one way I can stop you, Sonic. Committing mass murder on my own.
Uh, cue the hatred dialogue.
Oh god, I've completely forgot. The world just fucking sucks, Sonic. I'm gonna blow a big hole in it. A big Eggman-shaped hole.
Pissing on the moon? No, I'm pissing all over Earth. That's actually how Eschaton happened. Eggman just pissed all over the Earth.
How do you like that, Trunk?
By the way,
You
they
destroyed the
still.
United Nations, I'll destroy your nation. And all other nations.
Oh, by the way, if you're wondering, layering armor. Armor cannot be worn in multiple layers. The encumbrance is then added up, but the armor rating is not. That is them basically calculating how armor works in Shadowrun and rejecting it stacking. It stacks in Shadowrun. They chose not to do that. Which is also something done in World of Darkness. They basically just looked at World of Darkness, which is very popular in Europe, and then they looked at Shadowrun, which is ridiculously popular in Europe, and then just kind of forced them to crossbreed.
Who knows, maybe we'll find out the encumbrance thing is stolen from Dark Eye.
It probably is Das Schwarzag. I'd have rather shown you guys that. I have a English translation of it. Not the original stuff, but like the reprints.
Hmm.
Uh, environmental
Negative
factors, blah blah
attack,
blah. It's fine.
aimed attack, wounds, flesh wounds, trauma.
By the way, the wounds represented and stolen from Shadowrun. Wounds penalty. Yeah.
You can also die by explosions, drowning, strangling. poisons, radiation,
which is all stolen from Shadowrun, which have effects like that. By the way, here's Fentanyl Dracula dying.
spore infestation,
There's Fentanyl Dracula. It's the best
entering
thing
the
in this pig.
rays.
Vehicles in combat, which is probably taken bit per bit from Shadowrun. Yeah, it is. It's literally taken from Shadowrun. This is how rigor driving works. Okay. Woo! It's just a copy. I have nothing but contempt for this book.
You're right
By the
now,
way,
so do I. I came into this enjoying it, thinking it's unique, and then realizing it was supplemental material and a lot of presentation by other fans that hyped this thing up.
oh, don't get me wrong. If you had an editor actually take their stuff and try to punch it up, it could be pretty good. I don't necessarily hate a game that is a little bit uncreative. After all, if you think about it at the end of the day, Warhammer Fantasy just didn't fucking care and said, hey, here's Fantasy Holy Roman Empire using assets we stole from Glorantha because we used to make those minis before we lost the rights to them. Yeah, if you're wondering, the Beastmen are legitimately taken from Glorantha. They were originally printed as brews. I I'm angry specifically because the lore is poorly explained, done over way too long of a time. I have went through 300 pages just to get to the crunch, and not only is it just a D6 system, which I'm okay with, but it has enough fuck ups compared to its kin that it's not even the best system out on the market. It's not even a good system out on the market. It's competent. And then the special stuff you get from the classes, from the cults, fuck that. By the way, guess what all of chapter 8 is? More story bullshit they couldn't figure out where to fucking put. This is literally
And
just the covetous Neo-Libyan, wringing their hands and laughing as Ava Nagila fucking plays in the background, as they just fucking screw the shit out of every other nation. This is their point on Whitey being a bunch of ooga boogas as they hire ooga boogas to protect them. Hey, guess what? The cool
but
thing that the clans have, it's repeated here, bit by bit. Nice. Oh, by the way, here's the part I thought I was going to get mad at. See this cult equipment? They don't have a simple and basic fucking sheet for you to look at. You have to go through this bit by bit and knuckle to knuckle. Fuck you! Yeah, look at this. Look at this. By the way, scroll all the way down. Guess what you don't find? A helpful guidebook with all of the tables for this stuff.
who needs tables when we can have more quotes from dead people?
Ugh. Yeah, I lost my fucking patience with this book. I'm done. By the way, here are the ammo types. Let's take a look. 50 caliber, because bigger is cooler. We're basing it on the cool factor from Warhammer 40k, where they got like 20 millimeter fucking bolter rounds. 3.57. Yeah, that's a very common one. 44 Magnum. Fine. 5.5 NATO. This is the NATO round. Fine. By the way, let's see what else they got. 6x30, which I believe it is a type of round, but not very common. 9mm Beretta. Cool.
530.
Uh, where the fuck is the 7.62 Russian?
Well, it froze over.
No, because you don't understand the Balkan. All of those had factories, and AK, like Bulgaria particularly, is well known for manufacturing AKs.
Maybe the EU took over more of it, and NATO as
Also,
well.
also you would think that the Africans would have had it too, because AKs were very common in Africa, and it's very simple to set up workshops.
What about the E cube, though?
Let's see, what's an E-cube? Chargeable energy
You're,
reservoir that's used in energy weapons like the Soul Burner, the Shocker, or the Scourge, which sounds like shit that they stole from Chaos Warbands from 40k or whatever.
oh, but by the way, here's the chart.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. I did this based in in Microsoft Word 2003. This is a basic table format that it's one of the first ones you'd find if you wrote this in a Word document. Graphics design is our passion. By the way, I don't know what the damage rating is. I kind of skipped that. I don't know if 12 is lethal. I have no fucking clue.
I would no, I think you just do 12 damage.
Because do you know a game that also has? Wait a minute. Is this shit based? This might be based on Shadowrun gun mechanics, actually.
It's all
Because the way,
Shadowrun.
well, is it really surprising given that it's a D6 system that has a lot of the stuff they'd need for this?
No.
It's not all Shadowrun. They do change up enough. This is like Coyote and Crow all over again.
It's the European Coyote and Crow.
The difference is these
Artsy,
guys actually are
artsy,
edgy enough to come up with ideas.
very well edgy, with also the subtle racism.
It wasn't that subtle with the Scourgers, let's be honest.
The racism, then.
I mean, it was a lot more
For every
subtle with
for
the other
everything
two.
for everything except for Germany.
By the way, the way they calculate damage is very much how they handle in Shadowrun how brawling works. The difference is they use a more complicated variant of it because of the way the stats work. And they also decided to add more maneuvers. Oh, by the
And
way,
now
dazed. Guess what? Kicking and punching people and that causes dazed. Do you know why they did that? Stunning damage. Basically, there's physical damage and then stunning damage in Shadowrun. I'm just pointing out that that a lot of this is being what probably happened was they made a post-apocalyptic version of Shadowpunk and of Shadowrunning, and then they turned it into a game. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened. Which, hey, uh, cool on you. I don't necessarily dislike people turning homebrew into games. It's just the reason I hate this is basic stuff an editor could have saved your bacon on, you know? If they had an editor or someone who was very willing to show how to make the game and not the style, this could have been a fine book. I would have had no complaints on it. Well, I would, but you know what I mean. I wouldn't be infuriated and screaming by page 520. Which, by the way, guess what? Yeah, we're basically on like page 520 if this was a complete book. Just to
but
let you
yeah,
guys know.
look at this chart. Look at how many times like the numbers appear to be shifting because I guess they didn't
They didn't center
center.
it. They didn't bother
They,
to
did,
use any centering. This
they
is
didn't center
amateur
it.
hour. They had enough. They put enough effort to get artists to
There's
do
some
this.
parts. There's some parts where they're bolded. I
Look at this amateur hour shit.
Do we want to continue on then?
No, but I want to finish this book in a way that I never have to look at it again. By the way, this guy's screaming. Okay, I had to be careful because we're getting close to boobs. See these green people screaming? That's me. That's me right now. Oh, by the way, the last thing you see, puggers chat. There, there you go. Uh,
And they have rules for vehicles,
Some of these
animals,
are also taken from Shadowrun for armor qualities such as insulation and sealed.
medical equipment, services, artifacts.
Here's how you get food. By the way, you like more wasted white. I mean, admittedly, the white space here is helping. It's not anywhere near as bad. But look at these tables where they just don't care. They don't care, and they just kind of make it so that you kind of just there's nothing that helps orient your eye. If you, I imagine if you have reading issues such as dyslexia, these charts are fucking suffering. especially since they're using sans serif font. I don't know if serif helps with dyslexia. It might actually not, but let me tell you. Let me tell you, you probably shouldn't use serif font in a sans serif table. Oh, look, it's one of their environmental armors. This guy is already wasting his budget by even powering it on. You should be executed as an enemy of the Helvetican state for using it. I will say the one thing I like about this armor, though, since I want to compliment where it is, I like how they weaponized the jaws of life. On page what page is this? 173. See that power armor? That's actually the jaws of life. That is a recovery tool that you use to cut open vehicles, and they've weaponized it, which I think is pretty nice.
That's post-apocalyptic.
I like it. It's one of the compliments I want to give, because while I hate this book, you gotta at least respect that. Here's all the talismans and stuff. Hey, remember when I complained about them not actually doing this? Guess how many pages I had to go from that point down to here to find it. This is a Shadowrun 5th edition issue, by the way. Oh my god. I don't know what collecting mania is, and I just don't care. So
It's collecting treasures, scrap.
look look
Kids
at
should be
look
on.
at these weird mechanics they cooked up on the fly that they just made shit up with. Hey, look, it's the Sandcrawler from Star Wars. Remember Star Wars? I remember. This is where the Neolibians come out in their hooded clothes and try to fuck over the Borkins.
How many like Utini? The average uh, Neo-Libyan speech.
Oh, I was right. Serifs actually tend to help more people with dyslexia than hurt. It just fucks
Hmm.
with like a minority that's really influential. So this actually finds a way to fuck over both people. They found a way to fuck over both people. That's amazing.
Also, by the way, be careful. You're uh, approaching a page with tits on it.
I'm almost tempted to just say fuck it and show it. Fucking ashes to ashes,
Well,
done
it is to
dust
show.
to
It is to
dust.
show a spore infestation.
Hmm. By the way, look at all these oils that they've cooked up, because why not? I you like how they waste all of this white space explaining the background for basic shit like field medicine or antibiotics. I really should show Shadowrun 5th edition's gear section, because it makes this look even more fucking clown shoes after this. I like how the chronicler is trying to bill the Spitalers about setting up their new medical servers. Where's my paycheck? Where's my paycheck? It'll be in the mail 2 weeks from now.
Why didn't you just send it electronically?
And then he immediately turns into an ape because he has Primal and starts hooting. The universal way to help dyslexia is all caps. Let's see, did they actually even no, they didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't even do that. They only did it on the serif fonts for the titles. So yeah, fuck you disabled people. Fuck you disabled people.
Hey, you're not surviving this apocalypse anyhow.
I fucking hate this book. Are we at boob? Oh yeah, we're at boobs. I see her. So if you're wondering, no, I didn't rate this for 18 plus, so sorry, chat. Sorry about that. We're just gonna.
It's to show burn infestation. Again, the book is free, so if you want to see a drawing of tits for free, and you don't want to look up a porn site, here you go.
What is the edge this game has besides the art? Um, a very dedicated fan base that made it look a lot better than it really was. Because it reminds me of almost how Trench Crusade really tries to draw people in from aesthetics. And that's kind of my problem with Trench Crusade, is because the lore is kind of just already being built. You could maybe
Hey,
argue that this might be why Degenesis, I'm being too harsh on it, because this is like its original lore output, but it's just so incompetent as a basic RPG book design.
at least with Trench Crusade, the book's easy to understand.
That too. It's also a minis war game, so it's shorter. It isn't 700 and fucking 30. It isn't longer than Mage 20th. This book is longer than Mage 20th, which is a door stopper, by the way. I think it's actually no, it's not quite as long as like if you combined two of the D&D handbooks together. It actually might be, now that I think about it. I am going to pin a comment to see if it is longer than the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook for D&D 3.5. If it is, this book has some splaining to do. By the way, the actual book size is at like 69.7% because of this book also being abnormally tall. By the way, how you get sepsis? A tick. Basically, it vividly describes a tick bursting as it tries to infect you with its spores.
Yes. But the burn, though, the burn can give you unique stimulus,
Okay.
like Bion. The burner shakes off illness and poisons. He does not feel cold or glory.
You know, it's a far better system than this. There's this game called Shadowrun, which has a variety of drugs like Nova Coke, and they don't waste time on long-winded explanations of a basic thing like this. Oh, why is this a thing? It's simple. They wanted a unique post-apocalypse setting. They just kind of made it really boring.
Yeah, I think that sums it up.
They wanted to make a post-apocalypse setting that seemed unique, but and in some ways you could argue it is. In some ways you probably could argue it is. It's just
And
oh,
then
oh, hey, look, it's more art I can't show because they decided to have a fat woman be naked. Thank you, Satan. Very cool. So here's some other enemies from hell.
yep,
So there's
you've got
beasts, blah blah blah, human enemies.
be careful. There was a
More
warning
boobs.
that there is another full frontal nudity. The cockroaches,
Yeah. By the
the
way,
new
I
one.
have to scroll back up to actually show off the cockroaches. Don't you think this book is great?
I do like this clan, Anemoy.
I had to scroll all the way up from Leperos because there's no basic like you have to scroll all the way up. Look at how far I'm having to go, and I'm being cautious because at any point they could just show nudity. Like this girl, I don't know if she's naked on page 245. Kind of, but I'm gonna skip it. We're gonna just say that it's a guy. Whatever.
So you've got Exalters,
I hate this.
Stucob Nomads, Anemoy, Phosphorites, various different cultures of all different
By the
backgrounds.
way, for a second there, I thought that this one, which I guess is the Matadors, was naked too. That's how much of a fucking effort I have to do to try to get to the thing that we're showing. Oh my god. Garganti. I'm still scrolling up, by the way. Pandorians.
Go to the Garganti. They're at least the big Russian ones.
No, I want to show that because I didn't show the cockroaches. Exalters. Oh my god, look at all of these fucking people they made. Phosphorites, Mechans. Look at all this. Newmancers. There they are. Holy shit. Finally. I've worked on literal porn games less horny than this book. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, if you're wondering what each of these are, these are not enemy. These are not monster manuals. They don't really tell you
Well,
how to stat any of them.
they're
It's just
not
more lore.
enemies. They're cultures or clans.
Oh, these are clans.
Yeah.
Oh,
And admittedly, the art is good.
the art's good, but like I don't care at this point since I'm 600 pages in and I had to scroll through how much to get here.
Many. The Garganti, at least they're fun because they ride on woolly mammoths.
Yeah, these are just prompts. Not Nito nailed it best. These are just random prompts. I mean, like I said, the models look cool. It's just, things are bad when I have to actually seriously think, okay, is this a is this a boob page? By the way, at one point there's just like random open dick and it's erect. Just to let you guys know. Why isn't this a supplement? Because fuck you, Baltimore, that's why. By the way, these are all like even in the lore, they're barely like half of it you can throw out because it barely talks about their fucking culture. At this point, I actually feel encouraged. I should probably release some of that fucking homebrew I've released at this fucking rate. God damn.
They do give some alien fauna. Well, not alien, but fauna like
Oh, that's the
Stukups.
Matador.
Yeah.
You know what they should have done, which would have been neat? They should have given them red cloaks.
Oh.
They're doing bullfights, but they didn't even give them red cloaks. Corregidors, which I guess are like conquistadores. Hey, look,
Runners.
it's the people who flay themselves, like from that hit game, Warhammer Fantasy.
But also from Christianity.
You know, it's specifically it's based on like the Sigmarite fanatics.
No, I think that it's the flagellant.
Oh, by the way, guess what? I found the Romani. Don't you like this snake-looking
The
motherfucker
Roma
who's working with
are
the
they
others?
Are they Romani?
Romanos.
Because
This is
they
Romani.
just because the whole thing is they just sell the treasures of Rome. They're not wanderers.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Since they're European, I kind of had to assume for a bit there.
Yeah, maybe they're playing on that stereotype. I don't know.
The Maasai, by the way, are their own tribe. Oh, and yes, she is almost basically topless. Fuck you. I don't usually care about this sort of thing, but like, holy shit. By the way, hey, look, it's the Shabbat.
Shabbath,
Yeah,
not the Sabbat, not the Shabbat, the Shabbath. What does that mean? Who knows? I have actually read this section over and over. They capture animals in Africa. I don't really know what the fuck they do.
I don't know what the fuck they do, don't know why they're called the way they are, and they have nothing to do with actual cultures. By the way, look at this Final Fantasy VII ripoff. This is just Red 13, but recolored. Fuck you. Here's the mammoths. They were brought back before the apocalypse. Spore Beast, which I just realized this is just stolen from The Fly 2. This is stolen from The Fly 2, the sequel to the remake of The Fly. That's Martin Brundle. You fucking fraud.
Oh no, look at the Stukov Scorpion. They ripped off Alien.
Yeah. Oh no, that's from Prometheus. That's the hammerhead. It's the hammer
They
worm.
ripped off Prometheus.
They also ripped off early designs of, I believe, the Flood
Okay, if that's the
and
case,
head crabs.
I am making a final call,
They have bloat
much like
flies.
much like with uh, Hardwired Island. I'm calling it.
Okay,
I'm
that that
calling it.
that's good. I kind of broke at the after trying to find all the boobs. This was an
I need to
atrocity.
say I am sorry for bringing people through this. I thought it would have been better. When I read it through, I thought interesting setting. Going through it piece by piece, I realized, holy shit, this is dull.
So I will confess a couple of things. First off, I was very hard on it very early on simply because it is two books it is two books. This is the player's handbook that is two books long, and you have to go through 300 pages just to get to the character creation. That alone would have made me not like this book. I want to actually compare this book to another book that I'm not a fan of its design. I kind of want to low-key show Shadowrun 5th edition to show an example of a book I also think is designed pretty poorly, but I think is better than this. I am genuinely sorry to those of you who came in going, "Oh, people are talking about Degenesis. That means they might like it." I'm sorry for those of you who have just listened to me scream at this book or who is just being nothing but cynical.
And if you stayed around for this long, I thank you.
Thank you. And it's nice that you at least listen to this asshole's opinion on things because I came in this expecting to not like it because I recognized from the beginning there were going to be serious design issues. What really broke me was the fact that I found issues in how they did crunch. That's the part where I just lost my fucking patience. Because that's like basic 101. You're using a venerable D6 system. I don't care if you reformulated it from Shadowrun. I don't care if you reformulated it from West End games. It's a simple system. You roll a D6 dice pool. You count the number of hits you got, either it being 4, 5, and 6, or just 5 and 6, depending on what iteration you're going for. And then you move on. It's a simple system, and they couldn't even do that correctly. They couldn't even simply describe to you the abilities you get as a class based on your cult. They couldn't even do that well. They couldn't even give you a chart for your fucking abilities early enough so that you'd understand. Degenesis, more like degenerate. Yeah, Squirrel Killer, you got him. God damn, that's the other thing. Why is the second half of this book covered in boobs? We didn't even get to the part where the dude's like showing his fucking corruption boner at us.
I yeah,
Every
I still think
every
it would be an interesting
decision.
just setting to. I'd love to run a game in this. I don't. The setting has still gripped me even after all of this.
The setting, I will say this. When we first read the setting, it made me seriously think about some things. No, it's not in the sense like in the negative. It made me question whether or not I wanted to be alive or not. Not like that. After the first, when we covered the different cults, I sat down and said, "What would I do if I had to make a united Abrahamic pantheon?" And I thought, how would I fix the Jehemedans? What elements from Talmudic, biblical, or Quranic law, Sharia, would I borrow to make this atrocity? You know what I mean? What type of schools would exist? Would there be a strictly just from the book of Muhammad? Or would there be something like the Hadiths, or say like Karaite Jew, right? Or something like a Protestant version? I thought about that, and I went, there's something here. But much like George R. R. Martin, the only thing they cared about was the fucking. It's why Lys, as one of the free cities in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, fails. Because it only cares about the brothels. They didn't think about things like gambling or horse races. It's just the prostitute island. In this case, it's the bigamy cult. That's all it is. Bigamy Cult and the Cult of the Bull People. And you're right, Squirrel Killer. It wasn't that horny in the first half. The way I see it is Degenesis, if you had a very strict editor, you could make a very good setting out of it. Which is different from Coyote and Crow. Remember how I said there was no salvaging that?
Yeah,
No, there is
there's a
something here.
salvaging to this.
It is like the Star Wars prequels. Like, I am of the opinion that a pretty good editor can really bump up the Phantom Menace to the point where it would have been a good movie, even with Jake Lloyd absolutely bombing as Anakin. There is enough in the Phantom Menace that you can make a good movie out of it. It just needed one more editing process before they started filming. Same thing with Degenesis. You get a harsh editor, throw out 300 pages of bullshit, actually go and like separate the cults somewhat. Like you just give basic ideas for the cults, and then you do splat books talking about like specifics of the cult. Like imagine getting for a relatively cheap price the cult book for Jehammed, where it's known as like the Book of Jehammed or the unified Talmudic hadiths of the Prophet Jehammed.
Ooh.
And it is written in the vein of their Bible initially.
I think though that would require people who were designing the book to have gone in depth on religion.
They're willing to do that. They were willing to show their racistness. And by
And
their
considering
racistness, I mean the Scourgers. I'm
that they're
sorry, that's like an
that they
atrocity.
and considering that they kind of hint that religion is just made up memetics by a bunch of rich people, yeah, that doesn't sound
That's also pretty shitty. Um, like I said, there is a good setting in there. You could definitely it made like I said, it made me think about it. It made me go, okay, how would I improve this? How would I do this? Like hell, I kind of started to grow fond of the chroniclers by just making them like fucking Twitch streamers going, "Hey chat," like they're just talking to themselves. "Hey chat." Like imagine you're going in the wastelands and you're seeing like a crazy hooded guy with like a vocoder going, Chat, check this out, chat. Whoa, so crazy."
he just eviscerates a group and then as they're dying he just looks at them and says, "Poggers."
Like there's a charm to it that you could do, especially if you establish like that, like they're supposed to be a bit goofy, but you also take them seriously, you know?
Because yes, they're goofy, but they also have access to laser weapons.
Or do you just simply have them nod going, all right, and then they destroy your bank like the Neo-Libyans branch bank, and then you see on the net, like the resalvage net, because they have access to broken remnants of the internet, like the equivalent of Reddit pro revenge story going, I fucked over this Neo-Libyan bank, lol.
In the ancient words of Prophet Luigi, I have denied them.
There's stuff here. You could have easily made a really good book, but because they cared about style over substance, it's not good. It's a trash fire. I did this deep hurt me.
Did it?
I'm gonna argue it did, and here's why. I got extremely angry when I saw what they did with the crunch. Like when I realized what the fuck they did, because I've been playing a lot of Shadowrun 5e, so I was actually comparing it, and I said, "Oh, these motherfuckers." But on the other hand, I think it's because I see what they were going for, and I went, "Oh, they did. They just. You have an idea? Just get an editor. Just get an editor. Holy shit."
So the ranking we should put this at is George Lucas tier.
Uh, yeah. Actually, I'm going to say it is a new, unique trash fire that you can see. Or actually, no. It's still technically playable if you think about it.
It is playable. It
Yeah.
is just
It,
you are probably going to have to put your own spin on it
no,
and
for
tailor
a
it.
less creative person, I think there's enough you can kind of borrow from it. Like for a person who's never really played other games, I would probably rate it as a higher playable. It's just this kind of offends me because it just offends me on a lot of levels because of its design ethos. It is a book that needed to lose about 350 pages. Well, no, that's a little too harsh. You could probably cut at least 200 though. A handbook should not be a doorstopper. It shouldn't be almost as long as the fucking Bible. And I counted. Let me actually do that. Let me. I did mention I was going to compare sizes of books. Let's see if this book is larger than the two. Let's see if it's larger than the two largest books in the play in D&D 3.5. Let's look at the Player's Handbook D&D 3.5. How many pages? How many pages? Let's see. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. How many pages? Okay, 320. D&D gets to the point in 320 pages for the Player's Handbook. Now let's add the D&D guidebook, D&D's guidebook for it. Where is it? Dungeon Master's Guide. 3.5. I really want to see this. Come on. Come on, give me something to work with here. How many pages? So if you combine the Dungeon Master's Guide along with the Player's Handbook, it's still shorter than this book. Uh, let's take the Monster Manual, which, as Eternal American mentioned, is probably the most important one for a DM, since you're not really sure how to make monsters at this point. So because the DM's guide is just to help you, you know. Let's compare that to the Monsters Manual. Let's take a look. How big is the Monster Manual? 319 pages. So combined, the Monster Manual is shorter. Monsters Manual and Player's Guide is shorter than Degenesis by 100 pages.
Damn.
Uh,
And
Let me compare that to Mage 20th Anniversary Edition, which was also lambasted for how long it was.
at least that one can be explained. The writers are confusing as fuck.
Well, it's also Phil Mercado intentionally tried to cram as many things as he could because it's
A-
basically like 3 books in one.
As
Uh,
I said, the
oh, look! Degenesis is 40 pages longer than it. Mage 20th Anniversary Edition is 696 pages. Let's compare it to the Bible. Let's see. Bible page length. Let's get an idea. It is longer than the New Testament.
so it's bigger than the Bible.
It's longer than the New Testament of Christianity. Let's compare it to the Old Testament. The Old Testament is still longer. Talmudic law is only half of
Nope,
the length of
that's not
Talmudic
the
law.
top. I'm gonna point out that's not the Talmud. The Talmud is
I know,
21 volumes.
I
So
know,
the
but
Torah,
the Torah.
the Tor- yeah.
It is thankfully not longer than the Old Testament. It is still over half of its length, though. Just to give you some comparisons.
So I think what we can go, there is potential, but it's just too long and too dull to get it across.
Despite my ire and hatred, I will say it's a garbage fire, but I will also argue it's playable. I will argue it's
But
playable.
yeah.
And yes, it is longer than Pathfinder's pre-Master Core rulebook. That's another big failure.
But with that, I think we can leave this now aside and focus on,
We will let it
I guess,
molder and rot as it
our bread
belongs.
and butter, which is I'm thinking critiquing woke shit. We should go to when Lord of the Rings or the Middle Earth role-playing game, to be specific, went woke.
Wait, you actually want me to show the Nazgul backstories?
We're going with the female Nazgul.
We're going with the Gorgoroth book. You sure you didn't want to do the, because I was thinking we should do the werewolves attacking the Roman legions Dark Eras book first.
Why don't we make that a poll?
Sure, why not? Okay, so next week will be up to you guys. If you want to look at werewolves attacking the Roman legion in a Dark Eras chronicle, you will go to our poll on the communities tab in YouTube, or you can go on Discord. I'll actually make two polls for this, and I'll kind of consult the both of them. And then, if you want to talk about how there is a female Nazgul and how it went woke in '83 or whatever, whenever Gorgoroth was made, and you want to talk about Kumul the Black Easterling's adoptive evil stepmommy, who's an elf, you can you can also vote for that. The winner will be what we talk about next week, and the loser will be the week after.
With that, we will leave you with a hopefully a good night.
We'll leave you like we did. Sleep tight and use Degenesis as Ambien or Rohypnol. Well, not as Rohypnol. I don't want you to. I want you deserve to go to prison if you use it like that.
Or if you want to go to sleep violently, whack yourself in the face with it.
Imagine if the Jehemidans did that with their holy book, like in Monty Python.
Now that's a character.
All right, I'll leave you guys to it. Have a good night. I have a fucking headache.